imagine this. By next year, the collective economic muscle of the Black community in the U.S., it's projected to hit a staggering $1.98 trillion.
Wow.
And get this, some forecasts. See that number potentially surging, maybe between $2.5 and $3 trillion before this decade is out.
That's huge. It's a powerful economic engine.
Right. And understanding how it works is really key.
Absolutely. I mean, whether you're looking at market trends for your business or just trying to understand societal forces, or maybe you're just curious about economic power dynamics, this is a really significant area to explore.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, our mission is, well, to get under the hood of this nearly $2 trillion in buying power. Where's it coming from? Where does it tend to go? And maybe most importantly, what are the broader implications of this economic influence?
Yeah, and to help us get a handle on this, we'll be focusing mainly on insights from blackwallstreet.org. They've got an article, $1.98 trillion Black buying power in 2025. It offers some really valuable data and context, I think.
Definitely. And to give us some, let's say, crucial perspective on the factors that shape our choices as consumers, that feeling of control we have as buyers.
Right.
We'll also dive into some YouTube sources. There are excerpts from A Piron on Edward Bernays and propaganda, just Adam Curtis's Century of the Self.
Oh, yeah, the happiness machines part.
Right. And also beyond the obvious on the great deception of modern society.
So the goal here is really to connect the dots, isn't it, from these different sources and give you a clear picture of Black buying power in the U.S., how it's grown, its impact, and the different factors at play.
All right, so let's kick things off by looking at the big picture. This really significant upward trend in economic influence. The blackwallstreet.org article confirms it's been growing consistently. It points out back in 2019, the figure was around $1.4 trillion. And the Selig Center estimated it hit $1.6 trillion not long after that.
And what's interesting is how blackwallstreet.org connects this growth to, well, several important factors. Population increases, obviously, that's part of it, more consumers. But they also really emphasize the impact of greater access to education.
Which often leads to higher paying jobs.
Right, exactly.
And we can't overlook the rise in entrepreneurship within the Black community either. More Black-owned businesses that directly adds to wealth creation and, well, more buying power.
Now, it's important to understand that this considerable buying power, it isn't spread evenly across all industries. The blackwallstreet.org article really singles out specific sectors where Black consumer spending is particularly strong, where it can even set trends for the whole market.
Like the beauty and personal care industry, for instance. The article makes it clear. Black consumers are often the trendsetters. Hair care, skin care, cosmetics.
Yeah.
We're talking billions spent each year.
Yeah.
And that spending influences global markets, not just within the community.
And what's really noteworthy there is the outsized influence. Even though Black consumers are a smaller part of the total U.S. population, their spending share in these categories is much larger.
Right.
And this has definitely prompted major corporations to pay attention. They're adjusting product lines, marketing, their whole approach, really.
It's a clear example of how economic clout drives change, isn't it?
Absolutely.
They look at media and entertainment. The article points out Black Americans are leading consumers of streaming music, TV.
Heavy users.
And again, the cultural impact is way bigger than just population numbers would suggest.
Precisely. And we've seen that shift, haven't we? A noticeable increase in Black-led content on platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Spotify. It's a direct response to consumer demand.
Yeah.
And beyond traditional media, think about digital. Black consumers are highly engaged in digital content, gaming, social media, so they're a really important demographic for advertisers and creators online.
And fashion. Can't forget fashion. The article details how Black consumers often drive trends. Footwear, clothing, accessories, styles that start there often go mainstream.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Seeing the growing recognition from designer brands, athletic companies, even luxury goods. They understand how vital the Black consumer base is. It's not just about the immediate sales numbers.
No.
It's also about that cultural credibility, the influence Black consumers have on global trends, from streetwear to high fashion.
Okay, so we're seeing this major buying power, its clear impact in key areas.
Yeah.
But the blackwallstreet.org article brings up a really crucial point. The challenge of keeping those dollars circulating within the Black community.
Right, this is where it gets really interesting and complicated. The article highlights a significant imbalance. A large chunk of the money spent by Black consumers actually ends up outside Black-owned businesses and families.
Which limits the economic benefit for the community itself, right?
Exactly. It limits the ability of that spending to build wealth and strengthen the community's economic foundation.
The article compares this to other communities. It mentions Asian and Jewish communities specifically, where research shows a much higher rate of money being reinvested within their own networks.
That continuous loop, spending and reinvesting, it really strengthens their economic base.
Yeah.
And this difference really underscores why the Buy Black movement and similar initiatives are gaining steam. There's this growing awareness about being more deliberate, about where our money goes.
Like if a dollar goes to a Black-owned bookstore.
Right.
Then maybe the owner uses it at a Black-owned restaurant.
And so on.
Exactly. It multiplies the benefit within the community. But if that same dollar goes to a big, non-Black-owned chain...
the impact for the Black community is often just that one transaction.
Pretty much.
But the article does say it's getting easier to be intentional, thankfully. Online directories, apps, social media campaigns, they're making it simpler to find and support Black entrepreneurs. And that support, that investment in these businesses can create a really positive ripple effect, empowering people, creating jobs, building wealth that can be passed down. It's crucial.
The blackwallstreet.org article also gives us a breakdown by age group, spending habits.
Yeah.
Which is pretty insightful.
Yeah, it helps paint a more detailed picture of this economic power.
Right. So they outline priorities for different life stages, like 1824 young adults.
Yeah.
They're often focused on education, tech, maybe entertainment, fast fashion. Things like that.
Then you get the 25-34 group, often a big chunk of overall spending. They tend to focus on housing, travel, upgrading their lifestyle. As careers get going, maybe starting family.
Makes sense. Then 35-44, often more emphasis on family stuff, like kids' education, home ownership, healthcare.
Yeah, those responsibilities start to shape spending more.
And the 45-54 group.
Yeah.
Often peak earning years, right?
Usually. So maybe more goes towards healthcare, retirement savings, supporting older kids.
Yeah.
But still some room for leisure, travel.
Then getting closer to retirement, 55-64. The focus shifts again. More on healthcare, wellness, financial planning for retirement.
Though maybe still some discretionary spending on travel or hobbies if possible.
And finally, 65+. Priorities tend to be healthcare, essential needs, often on a more fixed income.
But still spending on leisure, maybe helping out younger family members too.
So it really shows how dynamic spending is, how it changes with life stage and income.
Definitely.
The article also links back to education and entrepreneurship driving this buying power. More Black Americans getting degrees, getting higher paying jobs. That's clearly a big factor.
Absolutely. But it's also important to acknowledge the flip side, which the article does. Persistent wage gaps, systemic barriers, they still hold back the full potential of Black income growth.
Yeah, that's a critical piece of context. There's still progress needed for real economic fairness.
Even with more education, Black professionals often earn less than white counterparts for similar work. That gap limits buying power potential.
And looking at entrepreneurship, the article points out Black women are really leading the charge in starting new businesses.
They are, despite often facing huge challenges getting capital.
So supporting those ventures is vital for continued economic progress.
Which brings us to the concept of Black Wall Street USA. The article introduces this, and it's a really compelling vision for how to channel this buying power more effectively, wouldn't you say?
Totally. It's all about revitalizing Black economic ecosystems, establishing modern Black Wall Street districts.
And it's directly inspired by the original, right? The Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, historical Black Wall Street flourished early 20th century, a vibrant hub of Black-owned businesses' financial independence.
What was so incredible about Greenwood was just how self-sustaining it was. The article stresses that pretty much every dollar earned stayed within the district. It circulated among Black businesses, professionals, workers.
The numbers are just wild. How many times a dollar circulated?
Estimates are anywhere from 19 to 100 times within the community. And it apparently stayed in North Tulsa for over a year.
That level of local activity, it must have generated incredible resilience, real wealth.
Yeah, the article gives examples. Grocery stores, theaters, pharmacies, restaurants, hotels.
Like the Dreamland Theater, owned by John and Lula Williams. Those inflation-adjusted salaries from 1955 Greenwood are eye-opening.
They really are. Attorneys making the equivalent of nearly $16,000 a month today.
School teachers around $11,600. Grocery store owners about $5,500 a month in today's money.
It shows a real range. Now, the article points to 4 key factors behind Greenwood's success. First, strong community cohesion. People actively prioritize supporting local businesses.
Second, that powerful entrepreneurial spirit. Business owners focused on creating opportunities within the community.
Third, and this is the unfortunate part, limited access to outside markets because of segregation.
Which, while awful discrimination, kind of inadvertently boosted self-reliance.
It did. And finally, the crucial factor, wealth multiplication through that intense local circulation of money.
Every transaction just built on the last one.
It's such a powerful historical lesson in community economics.
Exactly. And Black Wall Street USA is explicitly trying to capture that spirit.
Their strategies involve fostering entrepreneurship, boosting financial literacy, developing local infrastructure,
Attracting investment, both public and private.
integrating modern tech into Black businesses, advocating for policy changes.
It's a multi-pronged approach.
And we're already seeing these modern districts emerging. Baltimore, Bridgeport, Chicago, listed as examples, all aiming to rebuild that kind of economic empowerment and community wealth.
Okay, now, to really get the full picture, especially about why we spend the way we do, we need to bring in those YouTube sources. They offer some really crucial context on consumer behavior itself.
Yeah, this is where the discussion pivots a bit, right? From the specifics of Black buying power to the broader influences on all our consumer choices. And that video on Edward Bernays really sets the stage.
Bernays, often called the father of public relations, huge figure in shaping modern propaganda. The video mentions his early work during World War I, promoting America's war aims.
Right, with the Committee on Public Information. And after seeing how effective mass persuasion was in wartime, Bernays wondered, could we use this in peacetime?
But propaganda had a bad ring to it, even then.
Exactly, so he coined Public Relations Council instead. Very clever.
And the video explains his big influence was his uncle, Sigmund Freud. Bernays got really interested in those hidden irrational forces Freud talked about, the things that really drive human behavior.
He saw a way to tap into the unconscious desires and emotions of the masses.
And the Just Adam Curtis video, Happiness Machines, really digs into this. Bernays' big insight
Was that you influence people not just with facts, but by hitting their deeper, often irrational emotions. Decisions aren't purely logical.
The perfect example is that Torches of Freedom campaign.
Oh yeah, for the American Tobacco Corporation.
Trying to get women to smoke in public, which was taboo. He didn't argue health benefits, obviously.
Huh.
No. Instead, he linked smoking to challenging male authority, female independence.
By staging that event, right, debutantes lighting up cigarettes dramatically during the Easter Day parade in New York.
And framing them in the media as torches of freedom.
Brilliant manipulation, really. Tapping into powerful emotional symbols, smoking became associated with liberation, equality.
Even though, as the video points out, it's totally illogical, right? Smoking doesn't make you freer.
But it made women feel more independent.
And that showed Bernays' genius, maybe dark genius, understanding that ordinary things could become these potent emotional symbols linked to how people want to be seen by themselves and others.
And his approach just fundamentally changed marketing, didn't it? The video notes, he shifted the focus. It wasn't just about the product's function anymore. It was about selling it by appealing directly to emotions, desires, linking it to how people aspired to feel.
Which brings us nicely to that concept from the Beyond the Obvious video, The Great Deception of Modern Society. And to talk about the illusion of freedom in our consumer choices.
Yeah, the supermarket analogy is great. Hundreds of cereals.
Yeah.
Feels like tons of choice. But the video asks, who decided these were the options?
Right. We didn't grow the grain, design the box, or even ask if cereal was the best breakfast.
We're just choosing within a pre-selected framework.
And the argument is, this illusion goes way beyond cereal or toothpaste, our career paths, often limited by what the system values or deems profitable.
Even our opinions can be subtly shaped, right? By algorithms, social norms, invisible boundaries.
The video makes that crucial distinction. Lots of variety isn't the same as real freedom.
Having 50 toothpaste brands isn't freedom. Maybe real freedom is questioning the whole toothpaste industry itself.
Or questioning why we need it, or if there are alternatives.
Exactly. Stepping outside the predefined choices.
It highlights how consumer culture sells us freedom, packaged as a product or lifestyle. We pick our clothes, coffee, phone background. But try stepping outside the unspoken rules of success or beauty or productivity.
And you quickly see the limits of that perceived freedom.
The most insidious part the video suggests is that we genuinely feel free. We feel in control.
Often without even realizing the frameworks, the boundaries set up long before we got there.
So bringing this all back to Black buying power, it really underscores the need for conscious, intentional spending within the Black community.
Yeah, we have this significant economic force.
But understanding how our own desires and choices are shaped by these broader forces, that's crucial.
By being more aware of these persuasive techniques, this illusion of choice, individuals in the Black community can, hopefully, make more informed decisions, really direct their spending to support Black-owned businesses, build community wealth, instead of just following those preset consumer paths.
So let's try and wrap this up. Key insights. We've seen the huge and growing economic power of the Black community, almost $2 trillion next year, potentially much more.
And this buying power has real influence across industries. Beauty, media, fashion, driving trends, forcing corporations to adapt.
But there's that critical challenge. Making sure those dollars recirculate within the community to build lasting wealth. The lessons from Greenwood, from the original Black Wall Street, are so relevant there.
Absolutely. And then looking at propaganda, the illusion of choice. It gives us that deeper context, understanding the forces shaping consumer behavior, why intentionality in spending is so important.
So as you digest all this, understanding these dynamics, it gives you a valuable lens, right, on economic trends, cultural influence, and that ongoing journey towards economic empowerment for the Black community.
Which leads us to, I think, a really important final question for you, the listener, to mull over. Considering this immense projected buying power, the historical lessons from Greenwood, and also these powerful forces of modern persuasion, the illusion of choice, what do you think are the most effective, the most sustainable strategies? Strategies to make sure this economic influence translates into real, lasting prosperity within the Black community.
And contributes to broader societal equity, too.
Yeah. How does it all fit together?
Think about individual choices, community initiatives like the new Black Wall Streets, and the need for bigger systemic changes. It's definitely a lot to think about. But we hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights to consider.